Conservative podcaster Charlie Kirk was assassinated last week in what is certainly dominating the news cycle, not just in the United States, but really all over the world. There was lots of huge protests and more like not even protests so much as rallies in his favor. There have been some in London. There have been some in other countries across the world. There was in the United States just yesterday, I believe, there was a big rally at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. that was allegedly visited by 85 different members of Congress and a lot of other high-profile speakers, and just thousands upon thousands of people who were in attendance. RFK Jr. himself, obviously his family was the victim of two assassinations in his own with JFK and John F. Kennedy and his father, Robert Kennedy. So that had a lot of interest there. As you may certainly know, that Kirk was a very polarizing figure, absolutely beloved by many of his followers, and just as equally detested by a lot of others. Lots of arguments and claims that he was against black people. He was against a lot of the issues with civil rights, for example. And so that has a lot of people saying, well, he should not be lionized right now to the extent that he is, because he was somebody that was against them. So anybody he was opposed that certainly are not very popular right now. And then now there's lots of arguments and complaints going back and forth between the people who are lionizing him and the people who are demonizing him. And look, this is just part of the issue in America today, and just really exposes the big divide that there is between the right and the left. And one of the things I've been concerned about from the beginning, and will still be watching very carefully, as to what this does to that divide. Is it going to inflame it further? Is it going to drive the two sides even further apart? Is it going to cause them even more damage to each other? Or is it just going to be a blip on the screen? Certainly it's because of his high-profile nature, and especially with the Trump family. He was a very close friend of the Trump family, Trump personally, as well as Don Jr. Apparently he considered him as a younger brother, and they were very close. So it's a big issue right now, but it really depends on what happens over time. And that's something we'll be watching, as the months start ticking by, because really the biggest way you can tell what's going to happen really is what's happening 6 months from now or a year from now. Did this galvanize anything? Did this take the Turning Point USA, his organization, did it just exploded and cause it to become a movement, et cetera? Because then the real problem with that, or the challenge rather, is who would pick up the leadership of it. I've seen reports that tens of thousands of people have joined Turning Points USA since the assassination. So the organization itself is much, much bigger than it was. But the thing is, and the thing that we're going to have to wait and see how it plays out, is Charlie Kirk was a very unique individual. He had this driving passion. I mean, just remember, he started this organization and this whole movement when he was 18. I mean, how many 18-year-old kids do you know that can literally galvanize thousands of people and to build up this empire that he had at the time of his death? And so it remains to be seen whether anyone else can pick up the torch and continue going and continue to take advantage of whatever he's built and continue to evolve into something bigger than it was, or even to continue. That's really hard to do when something's built around one personality in an organization. But that's all stuff to figure out down the road. But the thing that's focusing on right now is, where is this investigation here? What do we know about the shooter, Mr. Robinson? What do we know about his motivations? What do we know about what he did? Where is the investigation on legal terms, et cetera? So we finally have a little bit more information today from FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino in separate appearances on Fox News today. And so we're going to share with you some of the things they said and some of the questions that I have after the answers. And then I'm sure a lot of you are probably going to share some of those. But first of all, we're going to see, here was Kash Patel talking about the DNA on the rooftop.
We have the DNA on the screwdriver that was found on the rooftop and the towel that the firearm was wrapped in. The firearm itself, this is a great point. Thanks for raising it.
Yeah, no problem.
That is being processed by ATF laboratories in Maryland, and I believe they'll speak to that at a later date when their process is incomplete.
So a screwdriver was found on top of the roof up top. We don't know what it was there for, what he had used it for, but apparently it's something that has his DNA on it, so they have it. The towel he's talking about, he said it was wrapped around the weapon. That is what is being reported as was recovered around the weapon. It was covering it up in the wooded area where it was discovered. And so we're gonna pay more attention to that towel as we get through here. But that's what the towel he's talking about. And you're actually going to see that when in the video we're going to show here shortly about when he got off the rooftop. We're going to see what appears to be that towel. The next thing, though, he's talking about, though, is the firearm itself.
I can report today that the DNA hits from the towel that was wrapped around the firearm and the DNA on the screwdriver are positively processed for the suspect in custody.
So he says that the firearm they recovered, that was positively ID. So you have something on the roof, you have the towel that was used to recover the weapon, and then now on the weapon itself, he says all positive DNA hits that directly tie it to the suspect, Mr. Robinson. So the question, the next one is that was asked about on Fox News is, what is the motive of the shooter?
My job as FBI director is not to speak to motive, is to speak to the facts. And that's what I'm going to do. His family has collectively told investigators that he subscribed to left-wing ideology, and even more so in these last couple of years. And he had a text message exchange, he, the suspect, with another individual, in which he claimed that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and he was going to do it because of his hatred for what Charlie stood for. Those are factually accurate investigatory findings by the FBI that we've handed over to the local authorities and the federal authorities to make their prosecutorial decisions.
Okay, now this is where we start getting some questions here. You say, well, it's not my job to provide motive, and then you go in and you say the motive, liberal ideology, that he had become presumably radicalized by something that caused him to go to the left. Now, if you have not been able to see from any of the reports about his family, this has shocked people who know them, because they say who know both the alleged shooter and his family, because they say this is so out of character for them. They were very quiet, very nice people. They love to go out into nature. They love hiking and all that kind of stuff. Apparently, by all accounts, his father was a 27-year veteran of law enforcement. He was a sheriff. He was a very religious person, I'm told, or at least that I've read some of the people have told. But they said that they're all really nice people and that they were not particularly political, though they were conservative. Apparently, they did vote for Trump by one report that I've seen. But there's no evidence. And when you look at the photographs, I think we showed it to you the first day that this happened, and we were looking at some of the pictures that had been published. Looks just like a common, ordinary family. You don't see anything that looks out of the ordinary, no red flags. And the only thing that we do have is that apparently, according to some of the investigations that witnesses that have come forward who knew Robinson, said that they talked to one of the family members, and they didn't say which one it was, but one of his family members, I think he had two brothers as well as mom and dad, and they said that he had become more political of late, and that apparently at a recent family meal that he was complaining specifically of Charlie Kirk, though implication being that he didn't say anything at that time that was raising any alarm bells other than he didn't like Charlie Kirk. And they didn't say what the reasons were. I'd kind of like to know that. That's kind of important to what it is about Kirk that he didn't like. What did he find problematic, etc. But then you heard Cash Patel here say that he had, on some kind of a text messaging, was talking to somebody saying that he's going to take out Kirk. So now we're starting to get some more questions that I have. So who was this person that he told? And is this the only person he told? So I think that this investigation needs to widen quite a bit more. And I imagine that they're going to, I'm sure that they've got his computers and his phones and any other messaging devices that he has, and they'll probably start backtracking this. But, who was this person that said this? And were they involved in any way? And then when you try to figure out how this guy went from being just a common conservative person, apparently quite smart, and started off in college, but then left college, apparently, even though he had a scholarship from one report that I read, into a trade school and was, I think, an electrician. What happened in that period of time that made him go from just a member of the conservative family to being this apparently liberal that he's talking about here. How did he get radicalized like that? And, another question, did someone radicalize him? Was he eventually a patsy? Did somebody use him and radicalize him to the point to where, hey, you're right, Charlie Kirk's a bad guy and he should be killed. Somebody should do something, something like that. Did somebody probably play into his weaknesses or into his proclivities? Because one of the questions that's got to be answered too, like a big one, how do you go from not just a conservative to a liberal, but how do you go from having never had any interaction with the law at all, no kind of record, nothing on his record of any kind of trouble with the law, that he was in trouble with anything, to a murderer? And to somebody who's going to go to a lot of trouble to get it done as well. And, sniper, and obviously he's going to know where the dais was, because he knew where he needed to go on the rooftop. And I don't know if you've seen those diagrams, but it is a very narrow shot, because just a little bit further to the right, and there's part of another roof extension that's going to block your path. And there's not much room to go into the other direction. So you have to be very careful. It's got to be high enough elevation, but not too high that it doesn't, the awning of the facility, where the little kind of tent awning thing that he was down there on the floor, that it wasn't going to block the view in there. So it was a pretty narrow window. So you had to have a lot of information. So that's another question I have is, how did he know where all this was going to be set up? Was he talking to somebody on the inside? Did he get information? Because that's a pretty tight hole. And unless you know how the stuff is set up, and I don't know, perhaps this stuff was set up early in the day and he had a chance to reconnaissance it. That's a question I have that I don't have the information to answer right now, but something that we need to get to find out, how did he select that as the attack site? And did he have alternatives, et cetera? But that one there really is one I think that deserves the most scrutiny. Is it, how do you go from never being in trouble to being in a murder on step 2? If you think that there's a progression to going from, somebody who's just in a normal state of mind to being a murderer, there's probably like a multi-step process. And then the last one is you go over the edge and you're, going to be committing murder. It seems like that there's some missing information that we have here. And I think that they need to go a little bit further down this path of, was he groomed for this task? Was he a patsy? And is somebody else calling the shots? Did somebody else want to take him out and just use this guy to do it? That's some of the things that I'm wondering, what we've been told so far. And of course, we haven't gotten any answers on that. Last part I want to show you here is from Dan Bongino. And he was asked this question on Fox News, which I thought, hey, give him credit. They actually asked this question because it's a hard question given the video that we're about to see. But notice Bongino's answer, or more directly, his non-answer.
We've got the video of him jumping off the backside of the building. Where is the gun when he drops 15 feet down to the grass below?
Well, if you look at the video, the gun is you'll see in the back of the when you're watching the video right there, it appears from the video here that the gun is either in the backpack or on him. When he jumps down, this is where, by the way, this part of the video, this is where we got a significant portion of the forensic evidence in the case, which we had to expedite. We had a number of assets, including fixed wing assets, to be able to fly. Obviously, Salt Lake and that specific area in Provo is not around the corner from FBI labs. It was difficult. But we were able, during that scene, him grabbing that particular side of the building and jumping down, we were able to gather a significant amount of forensic information, which we expedited back to the lab, which was the key, I think, piece of information that we were able to crack this thing open.
Okay.
So he says something about, well, yeah, you can see, on the thing in a backpack, and then anyway about the forensics, and so he didn't answer the question. And when they play that clip, I've seen it on a number of different outlets so far. They keep looping it back and forth around there, and they stop it when he gets into the grass, because that's when you get a real chance to have some contrast between where he's at. Because when he's jumping off the roof and stuff, it's dark against his dark clothes against a dark building. It's hard to see some of those things. So you really need to get it into the grass, but they never show that part. They always block that part out there. Now, as it turns out, I've actually found the video on a different source here, and I'm going to pull this up here. All right, so you can see there, here he is. That's the same video you saw a second ago. He ran from this area here, and then here's where he's going to get down. Now, I've slowed this down a little bit so that we can have a little bit better of a chance to see it, but this is the key point right here. Okay, so he's coming up to the edge, and then he's, okay, you see he's got something in his hand. All right, now that could be the weapon right there. That could be the towel that's around it. Could be, but we're going to see some challenges here in a second. So he puts it down on the ground there, and he lowers himself over, dangles his feet here, grabs hold of what he's got here, and then that spot right there, I wonder if I can see it. Let me see if I can just a hair back that up. So this right here, this again could be the weapon in the towel as he's lowered himself over the edge. Or it could also just be the towel, because he's kind of whipping it up, and it could just be that as you're flinging yourself down, that one screenshot right there caught it, because now watch as I hit the play again, and you're going to see him fall into the ground, and what you're going to see is him drop something, whether it's the towel or a gun in the towel. You can be the judge here, but look, he picks up the towel and starts moving. So let me play that for you. So now he pulls it down, and now he lets himself to the ground, and he reaches down to pick something up. So right now you see a towel, but what does he have there? So when he runs here, this is pretty much where the videos stop everywhere else. Now this is where he's about to get into the area where you can actually have some contrast to see, and for some reason they haven't let us see that part, but I'm going to let you see it. So now continue on. So you see that towel, you see the right here, you can see this towel, it's kind of flapping in the wind as he's going to move across over here. So you see that part, but I'm looking real carefully and looking for something besides this towel flopping around. I'm looking for something long, that would be represented by the gun. So it continues on. You see the towel, you can see it there on his right side. They move the camera around a little bit there, and now he's continuing to move around. There was another. You see the towel, but I still haven't seen anything that looks like a gun. So now look, there's people standing over here. You're going to see in a minute that there's cars coming down here, because this is hardly any of the views have shown this, but he's going to walk all the way around here, and let's keep watching to see, do you see any evidence of a physical gun here? So far we have a towel. Now it's possible, because this isn't great video, the frame rate is very bad, so you have a lot of pixelation and a lot of jumping around because it's not a smooth video. But look carefully to see if you can see a gun in here anywhere. So there could possibly have been one. Let's see if I can back it up right here. A little bit further back. All right, now let's see if we can get a stop. Hold on, that's not what I wanted to do. Hang on just one second, folks. I'm trying to get this right here without getting that into a problem here. I got to get back on the screen the right way here, or it's going to be a mess. Apologies for this right here. It didn't work out the way that I had hoped that it was going to, and I may not be able to get it back here, but no, I will do. I will not let that happen. I've told you that's what we're going to do.
Danny's doing his old disappearing act. I told him not to do this live on the show, and here he is doing it again. So let's all say a prayer for Danny that he gets back here quick. He's just pushing too many buttons on himself. So here we go.
That I got technology overcame me. Back to where we were. Sorry, it's a terrible time for that to have happened. Let's see here. Where did it go now? Everything's jumping around. Oh boy. Okay. The camera, my computer is doing some weird stuff, so I'm going to have to apologize. I can't show you the rest of that video. Wow, I don't know what's going on with my computer. I apologize, folks. I hope you can still see me. Bottom line is that at least you saw enough of that video before it went around the edge there, that it was not anything clear. We're not real certain where the video, where the gun may have been, but you don't see anything clear. And when he walked all the way around it, and Gary, let me ask you, you have that video that you can play, do you not, from the browser?
Yeah, Danny, it's up right now. This is what I'm playing right now.
Okay.
Oh, you can't see the screen?
I can't because my computer is just doing.
Got it.
Weird
Okay, it's playing
stuff.
right
I
now.
literally
He's
can't
dropping
see it.
off the building.
Yeah, if you could pick up the audio there. Okay, I'm actually back on now. So,
Okay,
yeah,
go.
you're going to see him walk around here. This is just about where we picked it up a second ago. So you don't see anything that's very clear of a weapon here, but now you see that there's cars coming up. And I have gone off again. And then you see him walking around the side there. So you still see people. And
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try and get Danny back. I'll never let him touch and take control of this show ever again. You see, now we're seeing how important what I do is. And we were just, I'll forbid him from ever doing this again. But you saw what he was trying to say is that, the gun never, at least in this video that we were just watching, it never becomes apparent. Now, obviously, we'd need to zoom in to really know for sure. But you figure here he's walking into where there's other people, and you saw traffic was starting to accumulate there. My gosh, if he was carrying a gun, he was taking quite a risk, So it wasn't very evident to us, at least, from this level. But that's what we hope, that they're using AI to get in on this video, and I guess the other ones that are now appearing. You see that there's one that's out there where he's walking through a neighborhood after the shooting. Also, I think TMZ caught that video. So we're hoping that they're drilling down. They say they are. Both Cash Patel and Bongino this morning pledged to the American audience that we are determined to get to the bottom of this. We are determined to stay transparent with you, for you. We know we owe it to you. So that's what they're telling us. They're promising this transparency, and they said that that's what we've been to up until now, and we promise that we're going to do that going forward. So we're going to hold them accountable, and you guys I know will too. So, we're going to watch every move that they make, and we're going to, we're not going to let them get away with it. So that's why we're here today showing you this, and we'll follow this with you, all right? So we appreciate your patience here with us, and we'll see you next time on Deep Dive. Thank you, man.